the line in the sand has been drawn. What I ask fans to do, and it's what frustrates me the most, if you do not like this approach, I would say the same thing. Michigan is not for everybody. Nobody is forcing you to be a fan of a college football team whose values do not align with yours. You are more than welcome to jump ship to a Michigan State or an Ohio State if the way they run their program and the values that they uphold more align with yours. People out there will say, listen, I don't know, and I've heard this argument a ton. How are you taking the moral high ground? Do you really think that it's morally dubious to pay children, to pay young kids and student athletes? Do you really think that it's a problem to pay these kids that are risking their bodies? A lot of people will try to take the moral high ground that way and say, listen, they should be compensated. And it's fine if you feel like that. What I ask of you then is, instead of asking Michigan to change, that you change your allegiance. You know, I'm going to pull a Colin Cowherd here, and I'm going to make this a relationship analogy. If you were dating a girl and you were together, I don't know, 6 months, whatever it is, and you despise a lot of the way that she operates, a lot of her daily choices, a lot of her mantras that she goes by, if you don't agree with them and you can't reconcile them with your own values, are you going to complain about her every single day and tell her how much she needs to change? Or are you going to say, you know what? Probably not a good fit. We're going to break up, and I'm going to go find someone that is a better fit for my values and how I want to live my life. You wouldn't stay with that girl.
The classic line, right? The classic line. It's not me.
Yeah,
it's you.
Right?
It's
of course. So why
are
you staying committed to Michigan if their mission statement doesn't align with yours? And this is why it grates me so much to hear fans complain. I love the way Michigan operates. And it's not going to result in the level of success that Ohio State has, that Alabama has, that Georgia has. It's not going to. It's going to be once in a while we're going to have a great run like we did last year and still come up short on the biggest stage, most likely, outside of just having a magical team. But to me, it does matter to me how we got there. And I've talked about this before. Everyone's like, well, everyone's goal is to win. Your goal should be a national championship. Well, that's absurd, because you can cross off well over 100 Division I FBS schools that are never sniffing a title, ever. So you're going to tell me that in a sport...
Yeah, but you also have 100... I mean...
You're going to tell me...
That works...
It doesn't.
That works for a little bit. But, I mean, you've got 100 FBS schools that don't have the tradition of winning that Michigan has had.
But it's not about tradition. So here's the thing. You can't sit here and tell me that in a sport...
But
hold on.
You understand how powerful nostalgia is when it comes to
And this is
Michigan
a problem with the
football.
era that these fans are formed in. Whether it was the Carr era, whether it was the Bo era, whether you're ancient and somehow got to see the Fitz era, right? Whatever you were born into...
It was a long
time ago. Whatever you were raised with, you kind of hold those expectations, right? But things change. People change. The landscape of things changes. Listen, it wasn't that long ago. No, I'm sorry. It was an extremely long time ago that Princeton ran college football. If you were old enough to see that happen and then see Princeton fall into complete irrelevance and become something completely different than what they were, you have to accept that. Nobody's sitting here demanding Princeton be one of the powerhouses of college football and change their ways to meet modern college football just because a long time ago they won a ton of titles, right? We did.
When.
No one is demanding that of them. Things change. The landscape changes. You can't sit here and tell me that in a sport where 85% of the participants could never even dream of sniffing a title, and I'm being conservative, it's really more, but 85% of these schools can never even dream of sniffing a title. You can't sit here and say everyone's got the goal of winning a title. No. That's the great thing about college sports, and especially college football, is everybody's playing for something different. Yes, technically we're all in it together, the race for the national championship, but that's not true. We know that Northwestern isn't measuring their success by a national title. We know that. And I'm not saying that we should measure our success by Northwestern. I'm not saying that. And as you said, we're a more storied program. We should be above the Northwesterns of the world. But as the landscape changes, as time passes, and as Michigan says this is how we're going to do things, if that mission statement affects how their program is run, the expectations have to adjust to the on-field product. And if they don't, if you cannot reconcile that with your fandom and your values, you do not have to root for the University of Michigan. Nobody is making you. I don't care if they were your childhood team. I don't care if you went to school there. If their program values no longer align with yours, leave. Don't complain and get on these forums and get on Twitter and get on Facebook and get on message boards and tell the world how bad it is, how you wish Michigan would do things differently. I got news for you. They're not going to. No matter how much you whine and complain, they're not going to do things differently. So if you don't like it, goodbye.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a